He has a quiet, intense gaze, a classic Hollywood jawline, and a physical grace that made him look like a modern-day James Dean with a katana. This was Michael Dudikoff. For a brief, shining moment, he was the golden boy of Cannon Films, the Plan Z, legendary independent studio that ruled the decade's B-movie landscape. He was a global sensation who helped turn a low-budget martial arts film into a massive franchise. He was even verbally promised the keys to major superhero franchises, including Spider-Man and Captain America, long before the Marvel Cinematic Universe was ever conceived. And then, he simply vanished. To understand what happened to Michael Dudikoff, we have to look past the ninja masks and the explosive stunt work. His journey is not just a retro trip down memory lane, but a fascinating case study in how the Hollywood machine can build an icon overnight, make promises it cannot keep, and how an actor can find ultimate victory not by fighting the system, but by walking away from it on his own terms. Before he was an international action star, Michael Joseph Stephen Dudikoff Jr. was just a kid from Redondo Beach, California. Born in 1954 to a military father of Russian descent and a French-Canadian mother who played the piano, Dudikoff grew up as the fourth of 5 children. Life was not easy for young Michael. He struggled with severe dyslexia at a time when schools rarely understood how to support children with learning differences. Despite these academic challenges, he found his footing in athletics, using his natural physical coordination as an outlet. After graduating high school, Dudikoff enrolled at Harbor College to study child psychology, working several job shifts to pay for his classes. Among these jobs was a position at a rehabilitation center for troubled youth and a gig waiting tables at a local Swain restaurant. It was during one of his shifts as a waiter that fate stepped in. A fashion editor from Esquire magazine noticed the young man's striking features and athletic frame. He asked Dudikoff to participate in a local fashion show, which quickly launched his career as a commercial model. Within a short time, he was traveling the globe, modeling for major brands like Calvin Klein and appearing in highly visible television commercials, most notably a famous Coppertone sunscreen campaign. This modeling success naturally opened doors in Hollywood. Dudikoff began landing minor roles on television, appearing as Joni Cunningham's boyfriend on the hit sitcom Happy Days and making a brief appearance on the drama series Dallas. At this stage, he was being positioned as a charming, clean-cut romantic interest or a comedic sidekick. He had no formal training in martial arts and absolutely no plans to become an action star. That all changed in 1985. Cannon Films, run by the ambitious and eccentric cousins Menahem Golan and Yoram Globus, was looking to cash in on the growing ninja craze of the 1980s. They had a script titled American Ninja. Originally, the role of Private Joe Armstrong was offered to Chuck Norris. However, Norris passed on the project, reportedly because he did not want his face obscured by a mask, or simply because the screenplay did not align with his career plans. With their main star out, Cannon decided to pivot. They did not want another muscular martial arts champion, they wanted someone with vulnerability, charisma, and that elusive James Dean edge. When Dudikoff walked into the audition, Golan and Globus knew they had found their lead. There was just one major problem: Dudikoff could not do martial arts. Recognizing his raw athletic ability, the studio paired him with legendary fight choreographer and martial artist Mike Stone. Stone assured the producers that Dudikoff's coordination and background in sports would allow him to pick up the choreography quickly. The gamble paid off handsomely. Under the direction of Sam Furstenberg, American Ninja became a phenomenal success. What made the film work was not just the action, but the palpable chemistry between Dudikoff and his co-star Steve James, who played Curtis Jackson. Together, they formed one of the most memorable and genuinely equal biracial action partnerships of the decade. Dudikoff's silent, stoic performance, paired with James's energetic, charismatic presence, turned a low-budget martial arts film into a global VHS sensation. Overnight, Dudikoff was elevated to the status of a premier action leading man. He quickly followed up this breakthrough with Avenging Force in 1986, a gritty, highly acclaimed political thriller that reunited him with Steve James and director Sam Furstenberg. By the time American Ninja 2: The Confrontation was released in 1987, Dudikoff's status as a household name among action fans was firmly secured. At the peak of his fame, major opportunities began to circle him. Canon Films had secured the movie rights to Marvel's Spider-Man and Captain America. Menahem Golan was determined to make Dudikoff a mainstream superstar and verbally promised him the lead role of Peter Parker in their upcoming Spider-Man film. A promo reel was even assembled featuring Dudikoff to generate investor interest. However, Canon Films was operating on a financial house of cards. Massive budgets allocated to box office disappointments like Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, and Masters of the Universe crippled the studio financially. The promised Spider-Man movie fell into a disastrous cycle of development hell, with slashed budgets and changing directors, before the project was ultimately cancelled entirely. The chance for Dudikoff to transition from B-movie action hero to a major studio superhero evaporated. Despite these corporate disappointments, Dudikoff's impact on the action genre remained significant. He brought an understated emotional vulnerability to roles that were typically filled with machismo. Furthermore, the success of his films proved that an actor did not need a lifetime of martial arts training to carry a martial arts franchise, provided they possessed the athleticism, work ethic, and screen presence to make the action look convincing. Yet, as the late 1980s transitioned into the 1990s, the challenges began to mount. When Canon decided to produce American Ninja 3: Blood Hunt, they planned to film the movie in South Africa. Dudikoff made the principled decision to turn down the film. He was strongly opposed to the country's apartheid system and refused to travel there to shoot. Additionally, he was wary of becoming permanently typecast as a ninja. Canon moved forward with actor David Bradley in the lead role, while Dudikoff would return for American Ninja 4. The Annihilation to pass the torch, the original momentum of the franchise was lost. The biggest personal blow came in December of 1993, when his close friend and screen partner Steve James tragically passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of 41. The loss of James deeply affected Dudikoff, marking the end of a unique creative partnership that had defined his most enjoyable years in the film industry. As the 1990s progressed, the landscape of action cinema shifted dramatically. The massive video rental stores that had once sustained direct-to-video action stars began to decline. Major Hollywood studios began producing their own high-concept, big-budget action blockbusters, squeezing out the mid-tier independent films that Dudikoff typically starred in. Although he continued to work steadily throughout the decade, starring in films like Soldier Boys and Bounty Hunters, the budgets were shrinking, and the scripts were becoming increasingly formulaic. Faced with a changing industry, Dudikoff made a conscious decision. He did not want to spend the rest of his life chasing diminishing roles in low-budget action films just to stay relevant. In the early 2000s, he quietly stepped away from acting. Instead of dwelling on his departure from Hollywood, Dudikoff pivoted to a completely new path. He focused his attention on his personal life, marrying his wife, Belle, in 2004, and dedicating himself to raising their 3 children. He also channeled his physical discipline into a genuine, lifelong study of martial arts. He began training seriously in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under the legendary Rorion Gracie, eventually earning his black belt and remaining active within the martial arts community. To support his family, Dudikoff transitioned into the real estate market. He bought, remodeled, and sold homes across Southern California, finding a stable, lucrative career that allowed him to express his creativity without the exhausting grind of film sets. Today, Michael Dudikoff is remembered not as a tragic figure who was forgotten by Hollywood, but as one of the few actors who successfully beat the system. He came into the industry on a whim, reached the absolute pinnacle of the home video boom, and walked away with his health, his finances, and his family intact. He remains a beloved icon to a generation of action fans who still recall the thrill of bringing home a new VHS tape on a Friday night. In an industry that often demands its stars sacrifice everything for a fleeting moment in the spotlight, Dudikoff's quiet retreat from the cameras might just have been his most impressive move of all. What is your favorite Michael Dudikoff movie, and how do you think his career would have changed if he had actually played Spider-Man in the 1980s? Let us know in the comments below.